It's a pivotal journey, ladies and gentlemen, that we're set to decode today. It is, for many, the last piece of Prime Minister Modi's West Asian puzzle. What's on the cards? What's on agenda? Our deep-rooted history that is rooted in maritime security and trade, from shipbuilding to pearl diving and spice trade. We have now come to economic trade and security ties, also boosting connectivity. Take a look at this. After more than 4 decades, an Indian Prime Minister is set to visit Kuwait, marking a pivotal moment in the relationship between these two historic partners. You've got Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is going to be embarking on a 2-day visit to Kuwait, the first by an Indian Prime Minister in over 42 years. And this visit is not just a diplomatic engagement, it's a moment of renewed partnership between these two nations, whose ties, like I mentioned, go back centuries, rooted in trade and cultural exchange through the waterways. Now, why does this matter to us back at home? Because with over 10 lakh Indians living and working in Kuwait, calling it their home, which is the largest expatriate community in the Gulf country, their welfare and contributions to both economies are pivotal. Kuwait is also a vital partner for India's energy security, ranking as our 6th largest supplier of crude oil. Now, bilateral trade between the two nations, it reached a robust $10.47 billion US dollars, with Kuwaiti investments in India crossing $10 billion as well. All of this clear signs of deepening economic ties. But then again, Prime Minister's visit, there's key highlights to talk about as well, because there is more. This visit holds significance for strengthening defense cooperation, trade, and of course, people-to-people ties. Prime Minister Modi's agenda, it includes a high-level talk with the Kuwaiti leaders, addressing the Indian diaspora, symbolic engagements, and visiting a labor camp to convey the government's commitment to their welfare. Now, with regional stability and economic opportunities at stake, what happens in Kuwait resonates strongly back in India as well. Joining me here on the broadcast is an esteemed set of panelists as we explore the impact and the potential of this historic visit. With me on the broadcast, Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, former Ambassador of India to Kuwait. A very warm welcome to you, sir. And Dr. Zakir Hussain, West Asian expert. Ambassador, I'm going to quickly come to you first. We've got a couple of reactions as well. But before that, the first reaction from you. Ambassador, 1961, we had a trade commissioner. That's all we had. That's the first set of diplomatic ties with this country. 1981 is when Indira Gandhi visited. After that, 2009 is when Hamid Ansari, the vice president. That was one of the highest, level meets. Now, cut to 2024. Prime Minister Modi, after Oman, Saudi Arabia, after UAE, his last piece of the jigsaw West Asia puzzle. What are you expecting? What do you think is likely to be on the cards?
Well, thanks for having me on your show. You have rightly highlighted the most important points. Firstly, that this is the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Kuwait after 43 years. Mrs. Indira Gandhi had visited in 1981. And since then, there has not been any visit at the level of head of state or head of government from the Indian side. Now, secondly, this is the first high-level visit in a decade, because the former Kuwaiti prime minister had visited India in 2013. But then after that, there has been no high-level visit from either side. Thirdly, and this is very significant, it is Prime Minister Modi's first visit to Kuwait. And as you said, this completes the jigsaw puzzle. But as I would like to put it, it fits in a very important part of his engagement with the Gulf countries, because Kuwait is a very important country in the Gulf and has been a very important partner of India. And his visit to Kuwait, his first ever visit there, is very significant. Then there are certain other aspects. Firstly, the huge Indian community, which numbers more than 1 million. In fact, it is even more than 1.1 million. And Prime Minister always engages with the community, because he sends out signals to the host government as well as to the community that he cares deeply for the community. And this community in turn remits money. Last year, remittances from the Indian community in Kuwait to India were in excess of $6.3 billion. Then, of course, there is the aspect of bilateral trade. Kuwait is India's large trading partner. For Kuwait, India is the 6th largest trading partner. We find a lot of possibilities of expanding trade. We already export a lot of food items, and are widening the range of made in India products which we send to Kuwait. And they in turn export oil. Kuwait is the sixth largest source of oil exports by India. And then, of course, not to forget the important aspect which you mentioned, investments. Kuwait is a very rich country. The sovereign fund called the Kuwait Investment Authority invests money in priority projects around the globe. And increasingly, it has been looking at India as an investment destination. So, all said and done, there are various aspects of this visit, both in terms of symbolism and content, which make it very, very important.
All right. Many thanks for your opening comments here, Ambassador. Dr. Hussain, I'm going to come to you in just a quick second, a quick jiffy, because we've got a reaction coming in from Adarsh Swaika, who's the ambassador of India to Kuwait at this point in time, to help us understand the significance of Prime Minister Modi's visit. We've got some preparation shots as well at that symbolic stadium where the Prime Minister is expected to address a large gathering of about 4 to 5,000 Indian diaspora as well. Listen in to what the Indian ambassador to Kuwait has to say.
The visit of Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Narendra Modi ji is very significant, particularly in the context of three important facts. Firstly, that this visit is taking place to Kuwait after a long gap of 43 years. Secondly, this is the only country in the Gulf region that Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji had not visited so far. And thirdly, that between the two sides also, if you see, this is the first high-level visit in the last 1 decade. I think the last Prime Minister of Kuwait had visited India in 2013. So this makes the visit very special. I think it will be high in symbolism, and I can also tell you for sure that the outcomes will be very concrete and will take our relations to new heights.
Dr. Zakir Hussain, exactly where the ambassador left us as well. The Indian diaspora over there. Let's tell the viewers and the Indian diaspora that's probably watching this episode as well as to what's in store for them as well. You've got 21% of Kuwait's population that is Indian. It is the largest expatriate group in the country. More than 1 million Indians call Kuwait their home. There's a diverse workforce that drives the key industries. $3 billion in terms of annual remittance to India. 300 plus associations. You've got Indian schools. There's a vibrant mini India culture to absorb as well. And the Indians over there are essential to Kuwait's economic progress. Now, in my trips to Qatar and the other West Asian countries as well, compared to how Indians are thriving and striving in Europe, they are better placed in the West Asian region. I remember watching the World Cup in Qatar. What a great experience that was. The souks, the local markets, and Indians really working there with their head held up high. What do you think the Indian diaspora has in store for them with Prime Minister Modi now coming there, Dr. Hussain?
In June this year, there was a tragic event took place in Kuwait where more than dozens of Indians died due to fire. And that was due to because of that has created a tragedy in both the countries. While Kuwaiti administration immediately rushed to the spot, and he found that the middlemen were creating a lot of problem, and they were stuffing people in a limited space and were not following the norms set by the government, and they have established, and our junior foreign minister visited at the time and met the people and patients in the hospital, and at that time a joint working commission was established to look after the issues. This is a very important step because and second, Kuwait, under Kuwaitization, Kuwait was ready to expel many expatriates. It was also targeting Indian, but due to our diplomatic efforts, we restored our presence, and today 30% of the workforce is of Indian origin, and their contribution in healthcare services are remarkable. 30 Around 24,000 to 25,000 nurses are working there, thousands of doctors are working there, and dentists are working there. So the care society, trade, and now what I feel that this visit is going to contribute in the field of defense and trade more, because Kuwait. And second, why this visit is very important at this juncture when the West Asia is heading relatively to a peace peaceful stability, heading towards peace and stability, while Kuwait has played a key role in the stabilization of the region, because Kuwait has not been as vociferous, as loud as other major Gulf countries like Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia. While our relation with Kuwait has been like a sleeping partner, but Kuwait has been working very closely with us despite we have ignored that country for the last 43 years. It was the policy of Congress not to pronounce all these relations but working beneath the surface under the table because these regions are very important, very significant for our economic development, for our energy development, energy security, for jobs of 9 million people working there. More than $40 billion is coming from there. So Congress was doing that, following the three policies: non-intervention, non-prescriptive, uh, and equal equidistance. These were three major policies of Congress during Congress followed non. So we were not interfering, but looking the changing dynamics in the region, we have changed our policies. We have uh, pronounced loudly our support to Israel in terms of counterterrorism, and this might be affecting the region. So we have started a new wave of engaging the Gulf countries, which play significant role in our every field. So we started with Kuwait, Qatar, we started with UAE, and now we are going to uh, uh, Kuwait. Then I feel that the again more visits will be taking place to uh, Oman as well as Saudi Arabia as well as Bahrain. I feel that second round of visit will take place. This is very important just to maintain because we have changed our Middle East policy, looking the changing dynamics there. The U.S. role is now U.S. is withdrawing from there and shifting somewhere else. The role of China has increased in the region, while the militants are becoming a pro-government and establishing governments in a disturbed area like Syria and
Great
others.
point
So
that
this visit is
you've
very
made over here,
yeah
Dr. Hussain,
yeah.
because I was reading an opinion piece as well, and I would like to bring the ambassador here on that particular front, somebody who has served in Kuwait as well. Ambassador Dayal, whilst we're looking at these developments, I mean, take a look at Bashar al-Assad's ouster coming at such a happy time in the West Asian, matrix. Our affinity towards the Ba'athist leaders that does involve Saddam Hussein, his history with Kuwait as well, and his ouster, of course, eventually as well. But Hafiz al-Assad, Bashar al-Assad, the Iraq policy, and us looking at the entire West Asian belt with the prism of how Pakistan was looked at. There's a complete balance game that needs to be done with these proper Arab nations, of course, monarchies as well, and non-monarchy, non-Arab, power dynamics with, of course, Iran. You've got Turkey and Israel, and there's a proper balancing act that needs to happen. But commercial agenda seems to be right at the fulcrum of this leverage. What's your viewpoint on this?
Well, I think that what you say about the commercial agenda being important is certainly true, but we view the overall political relationship. When the political relationship is sound, everything else follows from it. So, the effort of the Prime Minister has always been to strengthen the bilateral political relationship with all the countries of the West Asian region. You would remember that last year he paid a visit to Egypt, which was very high in content and in terms of symbolism also. Then he has paid a number of visits to the United Arab Emirates, and even to the extent that now there is a Hindu temple which exists in Abu Dhabi on land which the ruler of Abu Dhabi sanctioned as a gesture of goodwill towards the Indian community and towards India and its prime minister. Then, of course, you know that he has built very close ties with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Sheikh Mohammed bin Salman. And this relationship is strengthening the bilateral relationship in any number of ways in the area of cooperation in petroleum, manpower supplies, in terms of trade, you name it. And both India and Saudi Arabia have been working towards the development of the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. Unfortunately, those efforts have been stymied for a while because of the outbreak of hostilities in West Asia. But nonetheless, the intention of both India and Saudi Arabia, as well as, of course, the United Arab Emirates, is to build this connectivity which will strengthen the region. Now, you mentioned Bashar al Assad and Saddam Hussein. Well, India has maintained good relations with all countries, and whoever is the head of state, we try and have cordial relations. Let us not forget that there was a huge Indian community in Iraq, and if we had close relations with Saddam Hussein, it was certainly with the Indian community in the back of our minds. Then there is no doubt that with Iran, we have a historical relationship. India and Iran have been neighbors before Pakistan came into existence, and we have close cultural and traditionally close economic ties also. And these have been strengthened on account of our investments in the Chabahar port area. And so, all told, India is sending out the right signals to the West Asian region that we want to strengthen all round cooperation. We, of course, feel that the world is one family, and therefore, West Asia, being situated so close to us, is a very, very close knit member of our community, of our family, and we definitely want to do everything possible to look after our interests with the West Asian region.
That's actually very well summed up. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. I mean, of course, Prime Minister Modi has been harping at this particular ideology of India at the global level as well. We've got another reaction. We've got Arun Kumar Chatterjee, who's the Secretary of the Overseas Indian Association. Let's quickly listen into what they have to say.
Friends, Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi will undertake a visit to Kuwait on 21st and 22nd December 2024 at the invitation of the Amir of the State of Kuwait, His Highness Sheikh Mashal Al Ahmed Al Jabbar Al Sabah. This marks the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Kuwait in 43 years and therefore assumes considerable significance. India and Kuwait share an age-old bond characterized by historical ties, robust economic exchanges, and vibrant cultural connections. There is excellent political relations between the two countries. The Commission will be headed by the foreign ministers of both the countries. New joint working groups in the areas of trade, investment, education, technology, agriculture, security, and culture will be set up under the Commission. It will act as an umbrella institutional mechanism to comprehensively review and monitor the entire gamut of the bilateral relations between India and Kuwait.
Right, then some of those visuals from the Al Abdullah indoor stadium where the Prime Minister is expected to address the Indian diaspora as well. But very quickly, bringing you up to speed with a very important memorandum of understanding that was signed this very year between these two countries. It's called the Joint Commission for Cooperation. Dr. Zakir Hussain would need your inputs on this particular MOU. Now, under this MOU, you've got specific security provisions. You've got joint military drills that is going to foster interoperability, intelligence sharing. You've got cyber defense. I'm reading specialized training programs for the armed forces as well. Regular security dialogues and maritime security, apart from protecting shipping lanes from piracy risks as well. Just like our deep-rooted history, this is also another focus on maritime, which was the first ever, embrace between these two countries, between Kuwait and India. But the Joint Commission for Cooperation, what's your view on that?
This is a very important development and steps to increase our defense and strategic footprint in the region, because when China is growing fast there, we cannot be a mute spectator there. Otherwise, we will be put on the margin and we cannot afford, neither our economic can afford, because we have declared these Gulf countries as our maritime neighborhood. And we in 2005 we started the Look East policy, and with the coming of Look West policy, and with the coming of Prime Minister Modi, it has been converted into Act West policy. And we have said that we are going to share the fruits of our growth with our neighborhood countries, maritime neighbor countries. So in that way, this is a major step, and I expect a strategic partnership relation or agreement is going to be signed, which we have signed with almost all the GCC countries and the region. We have signed around 36, more than 36 strategic partnership agreements in the world. So this region, which is playing very vital role in our economy, in our stability, in our peace and counterterrorism, because whatever is happening in there, what I feel that if the region in Syria, it is not going to stabilize very soon, but the positive trend has started taking place. But if anything goes out of hand, its impact will directly come to our security, because South Asia and West Asia is very connected and very close to each other. So what I found, that strengthening relation with Kuwait is a part of our larger Middle East policy to increase our defense and strategic footprint, as well as put ourselves vis-a-vis China's. We are a growing economic power. The Gulf countries wanted to diversify, and they are working on diversification program. They want to engage as many countries as possible, and they don't want to be hijacked only by China. So they are also interested to engage India to counterbalance China. Here we are responding at the moment to meet their as well as our expectation. So this visit is a very timely visit, a very crucial visit. But at the same time, I feel that the issue, Kuwait is not very much happy with, unlike other Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Jordan, with Israel. Kuwait is not very much happy with Israel. So here we have to balance our relation between the two.
Be a
And I
delicate
know,
balance to strike,
delegate,
let me tell
and
you.
one more policy, that one more
Yep,
thing,
yep.
that before this, our foreign minister visited almost all these countries in this year, this very year, and he has prepared the ground for new opening the new chapter. The visit is set as a opening new chapter in our bilateral as well as regional relationship. So I feel that India is ready to play a new kind of friendship and partnership and strategic defense, and all these are very important to manage and stabilize both the region.
Taken, Dr. Hussain. You've raised some real pertinent points here, and not just you, the ambassador as well. I think it's going to be a wait and watch game the next 2 days, even as those preparation shots have now come in. There's going to be a grand, a guard of honor for Prime Minister Modi as well. He's been getting, the highest civilian honors from so many countries. There's a long, 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 huge list. Hala Modi is the name of the event. Now, of course, it seems to be like a timely visit, is what the panel tells us. More than a look west, it's an act west situation for India now, a change in the policy, the Middle East policy. There's a delicate balance that Dr. Hussain and Ambassador were talking about as well, that has to be struck between the non-Arab nations and the Arab nations as well. And lastly, this seems to be the last piece in Prime Minister Modi's West Asian gambit. What's going to happen? Well, we'll have to wait and find out. Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, former ambassador of India to Kuwait, and Dr. Zakir Hussain, West Asian expert, many thanks for helping us out with your insightful input.